It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders, and Alan looks fantastic out there. I appreciate it. Randy Tobias appreciates it. I'm sure everybody else appreciates it. That backdrop looks fantastic.
Yeah, you almost just need to get me out of it. Like, it's a lot better. It's a lot better.
Well, what was it that you were talking about doing yesterday? The Saunders slide in or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. We got the Collinsworth slide. Maybe we could just get it. There we go. That's good. I like that. Smitty, I had to stop by a fan today, someone, a regular podcast listener, audience member, and she said she loves the morning rush. She loves the afternoon drive. Every day she wakes up, prays, and then listens to our podcast every day.
Wow.
And she said that you don't get enough love, and she's a fan of yours as well. So I know there's been some Allen-centric comments lately.
Yeah.
Just wanted to provide some balance here.
I
Throw Smitty some love.
This was somebody that was at camp, like you talked to in person, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, okay, so I got a DM, and this is from Brooke, so keep this in mind here. Like, she's very obviously positive towards us in general, maybe a little bit of bias, but she DM'd me a positive message on Instagram as well, just to let me know that she acknowledges and recognizes what I bring to the show, and not to let I have fun with it. I'm not those comments. I was just having fun. And half the time they're coming from people that are watching Morning Rush, so obviously they're commenting your name when replying to those. So I was just having fun with it. I wasn't seriously taking offense to the fact that my name was not included, but I appreciate that from. Do you know the person's name?
I didn't catch a name. I'm so bad at that. Sorry.
All right. Well, we appreciate. Well, if they watch or listen to the show regularly, they're going to know who we're talking about. So thank you.
There you go.
And
there you go.
Down below. But anyways, Alan, day in no pads for the Pittsburgh Steelers today. Which when those practices happen, I'm not going to lie, I look forward to the conversation just a little bit less. Love talking every day about practice, but when they put the pads on, it's a little bit more. We dive in on these every day and talk about stuff that happened throughout practice. You immediately, when you joined, said, compared to other ones, this one just didn't have it. What made you say that? Was it literally just the fact they weren't in pads, or all the injuries, guys out, vet days, a combination of all of it?
Yeah, it just makes it tough. So no pads, so I can't really look at a lineman. Can't really look at a running back. Okay, well, I can look at the wide receivers. Oh, wait, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., and Corey Trice and Dante Kent all didn't take a single practice rep today. So I got Brandon Echols playing 9 positions like he's Jim Thorpe out there because there's nobody else left in the secondary at the moment. It's you can only learn so much while you're watching that, right? Brandon Echols actually was phenomenal today. So it's funny that
that was James Pierre seeing a bunch of DK Metcalf.
That's not a good look for anyone. Probably should not let that happen. He got cooked 2 touchdowns, I think, in 7 shots. But come on. I mean,
we're going to talk actually a lot about DK Metcalf a little bit later on. But, a big portion of that, what we're talking about is obviously the injury. We can kind of give maybe some injury updates going through guys that are still out, guys that returned. And he mentioned Gareth Warren back in the fold. Still no Calvin Austin. And we're kind of waiting on that one. It seems like it's a little bit murky. But Tomlin did say, I think the wording that was used with him was he's perking up. I don't know that I've heard him use that one before. Maybe you have, but we'll see what in terms of a timeline that looks like. We obviously knew Will Howard was going to. Actually, I don't know that it came out after the podcast yesterday about the week-to-week aspect of that, but he's got that finger in a splint and everything like that. But yeah, just kind of going through there on the injury stuff, who's in, who's out, what more information do we have today?
Yeah, Will Howard is out this week. Tomlin just called him week to week. I'd be pretty surprised if we see him this preseason. Calvin Austin, perking up is a great verb for Calvin Austin because he perks, he bubbles. He's like the most enthusiastic person in the world. It was dancing around out there today. He'll be back soon. I can't say exactly what the injury is, but he's apparently on track to return quickly. Still no Alex Highsmith, still no Calvin Anderson, still no Corey Trice. Dante Kent had to boot off at practice today, so they stepped forward but still didn't practice. Partial participation, Indy only, no team for Gareth Warren and Joe Porter Jr. And Will Howard actually did come down and stretch a little bit, even though he's got that finger in a splint-looking thing.
He wants to be involved in whatever way he can be. Yeah, going back to the approach that he
can't
has.
Get out of shape because you got a pinky injury too. There's value in just coming and running and that kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Big one I didn't mention there, Derrick Harmon.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the most notable injury today. Did not see him at all at practice today. Mike Tomlin, very vague about the injury, just said he's dealing with some of the bumps and bruises associated with training camp or something to that effect. Didn't seem like he thinks it's a major, but it's Wednesday and Saturday more practice. So I would say at least, if we got an injury report today, you're calling Derrick Harmon questionable for this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, oh my good, if we would have done, ask me who I'm most excited to see in the preseason, that list starts with Will Howard and Derrick Harmon. So that list is.
Yeah, we got a question about this, didn't we?
Yeah. My guy, this is, I say I love saying this name, Branson Sloppy Seconds, asked a couple things. One, how much we thought we could see participation-wise from Caleb Johnson in this preseason game, and also if we were to have a short list of players we were most excited to watch. Well, cross two of those names off my list, but another one would have been Caleb Johnson. So honestly, just the rookies in general, I think just playing their first NFL game, granted it's preseason, not regular season, those guys are always going to be at the top of my list. So Caleb Johnson, I would say for me, is at the top. But yeah, in terms of his participation in this game, I'm what do you think it'll be more in line with Najee Harris was a first-round pick. We knew he was going to be the starter. So I don't know if that would be the barometer to try to go based off of, or more of James Conner, his rookie year, Benny Snell. I'm not sure which workload to look at there.
Yeah, I think he's going to play a good bit. I don't think you'll see much of Jalen Warren, maybe a series. I think you might get Caleb Johnson, a quarter, I would think, maybe more. And then probably go to Trey Sermon, Evan Hall, Lou Nichols, and
that's what I was just saying.
Guys.
Even with a guy like Kenny Gainwell, do you really need to see him much?
No, I mean Gainwell's going to sprinkle in on some third downs, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised if you see him take a 1st and 10 carry. That's not really his game. Before I get into the rest of the other players I might be excited to watch, one that I am excited to watch is a guy that probably was not on that list yesterday. Esezi Otomewo. Back from a knee injury at practice today. Talking about Caleb Johnson, it was a thud practice today. You're just supposed to put your arm out and hit the player, and it's not touch. They call it thud because it's sort of forceful touch, right? You don't just tap him. You give him kind of a blow, but you're keeping him upright. You're not wrapping and tackling. Apparently, O's version of thud is sort of like JBL's flying clothesline. He just demolished Caleb Johnson today, and a huge fight starts. Guys swinging at each other. The whole offense came to Caleb Johnson's defense, and then Big O, as Mike Tomlin's been calling him, was retreating a little bit. There was some ground given there, and I think PQ got in the mix, but he called it a healthy competition. But I'll say this. O brought some juice today into what was otherwise a fairly boring practice, and also said that, hey, I am super fired up to go play the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously where he just spent the last few years playing. And that's not something I really had in my head going into this game. But he was like, oh, yeah, I want to show them what they're missing out on. I'm trying to get out there and make some plays. So keep an eye out for 72 this week. He's apparently healthy, missed some time with that knee injury. He's decking people. He's got his WWE finisher if he ever wants to go down that road later in his career, and he's fired up for Saturday. So put him on your list of people to watch. Highly motivated Esezi Otomewo.
Okay, yeah, I put him on my note. So kind of a combination. It seems like one, like you said, just came back from injury, but also a game week ran in the preseason against the team that he was with. Yeah, so, you're going to have moments, I guess, like that today, and I'm proud of the fact that we continued this tradition 3 days in a row now, working in a wrestling reference in some magnitude on the podcast. So, all right, Otomewo is on my list now as well. But, I could just name off the rookies, like seeing their first preseason action. Like I want to see Jack Sawyer. I want to see a Rock Taylor in this setting. I think everybody's looking forward to seeing him though as well. Sebastian Castro, again, sticking with the rookie theme, I would say that he's up there for me as well. But also, what about like a guy that we've obviously seen in this setting before, has played at the NFL level before, but like a Dylan Cook, I think as well, a guy that we had kind of on the outside looking in, but then the Calvin Anderson injury happens and Dylan Cook has looked very good in that absence. I'm curious to see what he's going to look like as well.
I think it's a big game for Dylan Cook. I think it's Jack Sawyer's a good shout. I'm excited to see him with some additional run. No Highsmith, no Watt. I would assume is not going to play. I think that's a good player to watch for. I think there's a number of those guys that you could pick out still, even without a number of the rookies. All the way down to I talked to Ben Sauls today. They did a 2-minute drill at the end of practice, and the second team had a run-on field goal, with the clock ticking. So he ran out there, and we got an active airport, maybe 0.2 of a mile away here. Every once in a while, you see somebody flying through the background of one of these shots. A very low-flying helicopter came just buzzing right over the practice field as the offense was going off and the kicking unit was coming on, and the seconds are ticking down. I'm like, man, Mike Tomlin is really pulling out all the stops here to put the pressure on the rookie for this kick. He's got got a couple thousand people in the stands. He's got the guys yelling on the sideline. Here comes the helicopter flyover. Saul's drilled it, talked to him a little bit. Man, he's a guy with a big leg. I think this is for both specialists. We talked about Waitman a little bit yesterday, but this is a real audition for an NFL job, even though we don't expect them to win the job here in Pittsburgh. I think Ben Sauls has an NFL leg. Boswell has barely kicked at all in the preseason the last couple of years. I'd expect that to continue. So how about Ben Sauls getting a shout-out for being somebody with something on the line this Saturday anyway?
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that this is where he ended up landing, not somewhere else where it was more of like a true competition, if you will, because clearly he wasn't going to win the starting job here and he was coming here to try to earn a job somewhere else, like you're saying. But all the power to him. I think he'd definitely land on a 53 and get a job somewhere else. Because the unfortunate reality is a kicking job is going to go very poorly somewhere else around the league, and they're going to come calling for somebody. Two guys deeper down that I'll throw out there real quick, just because I feel like mine were kind of obvious ones. Maybe Cameron McCutcheon, defensive back, corner. I think he's made some plays throughout training camp. And then Keyshawn Williams, the wide receiver, who I think has made some plays with third team as well. I think will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, J.J. Galbraith is another guy in the third team who's made a lot of plays. Not the world's greatest blocker, but a very good receiver already early into his NFL career. And one more guy, and talk about motivation. Asezi Otomo, obviously motivated by not being back in Jacksonville this year. Juan Thornhill, maybe doing some work on his own motivation today, said this might be the best defense ever.
Yeah, not in the league right now. Yes,
not
ever.
in the league ever. So two interesting things I want to talk about here. First of all, we'll start with this. I think it's fairly ironic that it was Juan Thornhill saying that. I don't think he's crazily off the mark. Like, I think this defense has – the ceiling is unbelievably high, okay? If there's a team in the NFL that's going to go set some kind of defensive record or whatever, the Steelers are on the short list. Absolutely. But he gave the quote from Rounders, right? Like, if there's no fish, right? The quote from Rounders is, a fish is a new poker player, a mark, a guy who's going to be taken advantage of. And if there's no fish at the player, you're the fish. Well, if there's a fish on this defense, it might be Juan Thornhill. Like, he might be the weakest link. And that's subject. I mean, the guy won 2 Super Bowls as a starting safety. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he might be the worst starter on this defense. Sure. It's pretty darn good, though, right? Like, and so I thought that was ironic.
He wasn't slated to be a starter a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, I don't think that's, saying anything. I think it's speaking highly of the group as opposed to saying anything negative about the player. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm curious. Man, like you mentioned the seal, they have the ingredients, I think, to be I really struggle to say the best ever, the best in the league right now. But like, what can they attain? I mean, TBD, obviously, but it's just at every level. I mean, you look at it like, as somebody that is as high as I am on a second year Peyton Wilson, that might be like the second spot that I were to go to after Thornhill if something was going to go wrong for him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just trying to think of who the next guy would be.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is interesting to think about is, all right, the best Steelers defenses in team history, in whichever order you want to pick, are 1976 and 2008. All right, those are the two best Steelers defenses. What does a defense of that level look like in 2025? Like, what is, like, if you had the objectively best defense in NFL history, how good would they even be right now in a division where you got to play Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow twice, you got Josh Allen on the calendar, you got Jordan Love on the calendar, you got Tua and a video game offense in Miami on the calendar? Like, how good would the best defense of all time be right now? I think it's an interesting question that I don't really know the answer to.
And I mean, I mentioned like the ingredients. Does everything even like look the exact same in terms of how important this position is as opposed to this position? Because like I think off-ball linebacker not as important now as it was back in those days that you're talking about, where you are talking about having
Lawrence Timmons ain't doing a lot for this team right now. Like that's not
right, and
that's not a knock on the Law Dog. Like he was a great player, but they don't need one of those right now. Casey Hampton not doing much for this team right now, even though he's an all-time great at his position, in addition to being one of the best Steelers defenses of all time. So, I mean, they certainly. I don't know if I'm going to go with Thornhill here and say that this. Yeah. I think it could be one of the best secondaries in Steelers history.
Yeah, we've touched on that. I agree. I think it's there with 2019 before they played. Like on paper, it's there with 2019 for me. And then before that, we were having this conversation before. I don't remember if it was on
like 11
here with
12.
DB or if it was on SM Plus. But yeah, like you're going back to when Troy was here.
Yeah,
obviously. So
I don't know that they have one like NFL Defensive Player Year candidate that's like a Troy Polamalu or a Mel Blount analog or Rod Woodson, like someone like that who's like but man, 1 through 5, they're pretty darn good.
Yeah, absolutely. We can get into some of the stuff that happened during practice, probably as long as we've gone without that happening. Real quick, I did want to mention, though, one more thing before we dive into it. Aaron Rodgers talking. You just mentioned Thornhill picking off Rodgers. Again, I wanted to bring up something that Rodgers said that I thought was interesting, because I actually had this in my notes to bring up before you even mentioned it to me. Thought it was interesting in terms of him talking about him getting more out of a joint practice than he does the preseason. So we'll see how much, or if at all, we even see Aaron during the preseason. But I don't know that we've talked about necessarily how like a joint practice can translate even more than a preseason could. Were you surprised by him saying that, or what is your thought on it?
Well, I wasn't super surprised by that because he hasn't done a lot of it. Rodgers played not in the preseason at all last year, 10 snaps in 2023, then not at all in 2022, 2021, 2019 with the Packers. So he's taken about 15 preseason snaps since 2018. Pretty clear he doesn't think much of it, right? So I wasn't super surprised when he said that. He did say that he doesn't care whether he plays or not. It's totally up to Mike Tomlin. He'll go along with whatever Mike wants. But I think Aaron made it fairly clear that he doesn't really think preseason football adds that much to his preparation. One of the reasons he said that is that in preseason, teams don't want to put stuff on tape for the entire NFL to see. So they're out there not really playing their scheme. They're just out there running inside zone and like super basic passing concepts and cover 1, cover 2, cover 3. Like that's all, that's all they do. And so he said in those joint practices, because they're not televised and like only 2 teams have the tape, it's always a team that you're not going to play that year in the regular season. In fact, it's usually a team in the opposite conference. So not only aren't you going to see them in the regular season, you're very unlikely to see them in the playoffs, and you probably won't see them more than once or twice in the next, 5 to 10 years. So teams are a lot more willing to just go run their offense. And then you actually see what you running your offense against a defense that is trying to stop it looks like, which you never really get in the preseason. I'm not sure I've ever heard that laid out that way, but he makes a darn compelling case for why the preseason doesn't mean much to a player like him. It certainly means a lot to the guys that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Who need themselves, guys that are battling for jobs, guys that are trying to stay in the league. But someone who's got a job, who's got a role, and is looking for some honing and some fine-tuning, I don't know that the risk-reward of taking a physical abuse to go run the same 8 plays against cover 2 a bunch of times is really worth it.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess he maybe knows what he's talking about in that regard. I'm not sure. He's done it a little bit, so.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give him this one, I guess.
He's entitled to his opinion. But anyways, all right. Let's talk. Was there anything else that he said that you felt was compelling at all before we dive into some stuff from actual practice?
He was talking about Roman Wilson, said he thinks he's so damn talented and that he just needs to get out of his own head a little bit. I thought that was an interesting take from QB1 there.
What do you make of the getting out of his own head part of it? I mean, I guess I don't know if that you've had conversations where it's come off that was the case, that he was in his own head, or even like watching him, you feel like he was. But like, yeah, what would you make of that second part there?
I just feel like Roman is very eager to, like, especially there was a lot of weird stuff said about him last year, and I think he took some of that to heart. Just in terms of like people like saying stuff like he didn't know the playbook, or I think he's trying very, very hard to like have everything be perfect. To be like, did I run at the right depth? Did I have my hands in the right place? Was was the cut good? Did I get the right read? And I think Aaron is just saying, just relax and play. You're good enough. It'll be fine. I wrote yesterday, and we talked about yesterday, I'm not sure he is good enough to be an outside receiving threat in the NFL just yet. I think he has some skill development to do there that's kind of unfair to put on him at this time. But like he got lined up against Malik Harrison today. Bloodbath. Bloodbath. He cooked James Pierre on a deep double move, outbreaking also today. But like that's the thing, is like if you're a slot receiver, Arthur Smith can get you against Malik Harrison every once in a while, or some other team's Malik Harrison. You got to go face the outside corners on the outside, and it's going to be tough. But yeah, he's definitely. I think that's the first time I've ever heard the train go by on the show. I think that's the first time.
Here? Yeah. See, I ask sometimes, and you say no, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's surprising, because I literally live right next to the train tracks. But anyways, I am curious. We talked about the DBs that were out. Roman Wilson now, again, they weren't wearing pads today, but seemed like a pretty productive day for him, and kind of stacking days here. Now, what's it going to look like when those defensive backs do come back into the fold? Does he continue to kind of build these days as he has here? I don't know. I mean, I'm again not like trying to go overboard here with the takes or anything like that, but I'm certainly encouraged by what the last 48 hours have looked like for Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I agree. He had a nice one today where he was lined up in the slot, and there wasn't anybody lined up directly over him. Deshaun Elliott was there, but he was like 10 yards off the ball. And I don't know if Aaron made a visual or audible call to him, or if they just were on the same page, but Roman broke the route off immediately, just turned to look for the ball, and Rodgers didn't even take a drop. He just caught the snap and immediately threw it. And then he ran like 10 yards before Deshaun Elliott could track him down. That's sort of that classic Aaron Rodgers stuff, but I thought it was really encouraging to see Roman Wilson and then be on the same page like that.
Now, how much of a guy like that do you think that you see in the preseason?
All of him. Like, he should be out there like every rep, basically. He needs them all.
I was just saying, because he's kind of like one of those, a tweener in the fact that like ones and twos could play with both of them.
Yeah, he'll probably play with all three teams, I would assume.
Okay. All right, sorry, go ahead.
All right, some other stuff. Darryl Porter made a crazy trapping the ball against his body interception. And I was like, God, Darryl Porter, man, I talked to him before practice today. Seems like a good guy. I was like, I get a little Daryl Porter note in there. And then, like 8 plays later, Rock Taylor just cooked him on a deep route. And Porter was holding and was still getting beat while he was just like grabbing on to the back of his shirt, being dragged down the field. And I was like, all right, maybe we don't have a Daryl Porter note today, but good dude. And we'll see how things go from here. Obviously, just day 2. I talked a little bit about the. Did we go over 7 shots?
No, other than. Oh wait, no, I don't even know if we mentioned.
Oh well, that's because I have places I want to go from the 7 shots. We'll start with the 2-minute drill. Another Juan Thornhill interception ends a 2-minute drill. Rodgers and somebody weren't on the same page. I don't know who it was. He threw it to a place that nobody was. Thornhill was playing center field and just came flying down and made a diving interception. And then the 2s go out and Ben Sauls gets in there. 7 shots. DK Metcalf, 2 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. We had a coverage stack, a lot of milk, and there was another slant for Metcalf that was going to be a touchdown, but Y.A. Black, I don't even need to tell you all what Y.A. Black did because I think by now you know what's coming.
Preseason prediction for Saturdays, he's going to get his hand on one.
Yeah, I mean, can I bet the over-under for Y.A. Black total preseason passes batted down? Because I want the over.
Yeah.
And then Beanie Bishop broke one up for Robert Woods in the back of the end zone. I think he might have been out of the end zone anyway, but Beanie broke it up, so we'll give it to him. Woods got a touchdown on the other side. Lou Nichols scored on a rushing play. But I want to talk about the 2 touchdowns, and the third one would have been a touchdown if not for YA.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a lot of work to do in Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf and getting them on the same page, especially when it comes to finding chunk plays down the field. I feel like a lot of the times we've seen disconnection with them. It's been looking down the field, and they've been close, but they just haven't been able to hook up. Went for a cover 2 hole shot, couldn't get it. Went for one that went off Metcalf's hands at Friday Night Lights. There haven't been a lot of deep balls. But, man, when they need 5 yards, there is a Rodgers to DK Metcalf slant there on every play. Like, it is just a free space. And outside of maybe Ramsey, it doesn't really seem to matter who's covering him. Like, he's got it against everybody. Eccles was playing pretty well today. He got Eccles. He got James Pierre, which is not a good matchup. But he got Beanie Bishop once. Should never happen. But, I think one of the things we talked about, especially under Canada, maybe not as much last year, was that this offense didn't have an easy button. It did not have a play they can go to.
The closest thing they had to an easy button was like a back shoulder fade from Kenny Pickett to George Pickens.
Yeah. I mean, last year they kind of had that like play action, dump it off to Darnell Washington play that sort of worked. Justin Fields running the ball was pretty much an easy button, but like that's a whole other level of reliability there in terms of you just got to move the ball a little bit. Okay, here you go. Throw it to DK on the side. And the other one that's coming up is Kenny Gainwell coming out of the backfield is just nasty. Every time they run play action, I just go try to find 14 because I know he's getting the ball. And he's always open. They had Malik Harrison on him, and I swear this is not a Malik Harrison hate podcast. TA was standing right beside me. He's yelling, Malik, watch your leverage, watch your leverage. Gainwell comes out of the backfield, out to the slot. So it's not play action on this one. He's out in the slot, runs an out-breaking route, turns back to the end, and there's like 9 yards of separation between Kenny Gainwell. I mean, it's like he merged onto a different freeway and left Malik Harrison going 55 miles an hour the other direction. It's just wide open in the end zone. And it's like, woo, like that's he's always open out of the backfield. And I think if you have that, I'm not saying you're going to have an explosive offense, but I think you get a lot harder to get off the field if you have some easy buttons for your offense.
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of if you've noticed, what kind of routes is Kenny running in terms of out of the backfield?
A lot of angles, some wheels, some swings. And then he does a lot where he'll go in motion out into the slot and then, doesn't really stop. So it's like a sort of like the Tyreek Hill motion turns into a little bit he's a good route runner for a running back, and but the play action and then go back to him. They ran one today where they released Darnell Washington up the field, and then they run play action and then just dump it over the line to Gainwell, and you got Washington out there as a lead blocker, and I'm like, oh, that's nasty. They ran a screen pass to him, looked like it was going nowhere, and then there's Gainwell just jigging and juking around for 20 yards. It wasn't even that well executed by the offensive line. You just set up a block, make some space, set up a block. He's a really good open field runner. I think that like 3rd and 4 feels like a good down for them to me based on what I've seen so far. And I'm not sure you could say that recently.
Oh, no, absolutely not. All right. We got to get to one question. We're already at 30 minutes, but we definitely get to this because I'm curious about this as well. Tevin Carter, my guy here, DM me and was asking about some 4-4 looks that they're showing on defense. Said he saw a comment about them throwing that look out there. Might not even be worth talking. It's always worth talking about, Tevin. But what does it look like schematically? Do we see Watt and Highsmith both on the field in this situation? And he said, wonder what you think too, Smitty, since for whatever reason they keep leaving you out of the convo.
They don't really – I mean, they have a 4-4 defense. It's mostly a 6-2 front. I mean, the outside linebackers are up on the line of scrimmage. So it's basically just like the Steelers defense, but you instead of having Deshaun Elliott down there in the box, you take Deshaun Elliott off the field and you put Y.A. Black on instead. And instead of having a safety in the box, you just cram a 4th defensive lineman in the space in between the 2 outside linebackers. So you run a 6-man front. You're only ever going to run this defense against a goal line offense with at least 2 tight ends on the line of scrimmage, but probably only with like 3 big eligible. So like 2 tight ends and a fullback, like that or 3 tight ends. Yeah. That's what you need out there to run that defense. But they've run it before. They installed a bit more of it yesterday, and I think that's why they were running some of it. But it's always been part of their rotation. They run against Baltimore a good bit. Nobody else really seems to see very much of it, but that's their goal line defense. And oftentimes they've also, in addition to taking 1 safety off the field, they've also taken 1 corner off the field and put Miles Killebrew out there at cornerback to put a bigger body in a corner in case it's an outside run, right? So now you don't have Joey Porter trying to tackle Derrick Henry on the edge. Right now you got somebody who's a little bit bigger out there. That's why when they threw to Darnell Washington at the goal line yesterday, it was against Killebrew.
Okay. Makes sense. Gotcha. Yeah, it was hard for me to even have it. Well, first off, you lose me when you take Deshaun Elliott off the field. All jokes aside.
Well, I think this year, they did it that way before because it was Minka back there. But actually, I think this year they would probably take Thornhill.
It would be Thornhill.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And the other thing is like, how often are we going to see a package like that? But in your just how you feel about the personnel that they have, do you feel like it's something that they could be successful using?
There's just very few opportunities to do that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Appreciate the question, Tevin. As always, keep them coming. Tevin and everybody else in the comments here. We leave a 5-star review, which I would definitely get back. None today. I checked. Right. So I'm going to be good about checking from now on. But anyways, Alan, tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, Saunders _ PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. I downloaded the video from this morning for TikTok, and then I forgot.
Okay.
So I did post on Blue Sky last night, and I will post on Blue Sky.
Right.
I'm trying, people. Instagram's doing well. We're on the ball with that.
We're on there.
Okay. PGH Steelers Now site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus and get access to our Subs Only live stream, which is coming up for the month of August. Subs Only content over at SteelersNow.com. And, of course, an ad-free reading experience, which is the very best part of the whole, except for my undying love and gratitude, which also comes as part of the package and is probably worth more than everything else combined. It's like $4 a month, folks. It's very cheap. And it really helps us out a lot. Flying to Jacksonville. Ed Thompson's going to Jacksonville. We want to do this stuff to bring you cool coverage. And that costs money. And it really does help us get to those places. And, of course, anyone can like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification here on the YouTube channel. That's totally free, helps us bring this show to a bigger and bigger audience every day. Smitty, the number keeps going up.
It does. And right now it sits at 16,300 and Mike Logan.
Mike Logan, the Key Sports finest, number 31. I mean, Donnie Shell is the obvious answer, and that's not a number they've given out a whole ton since then. Is that Ross Cockrell?
It is
31.
And also
that's
rookie season Mike Hilton before he switched to 28.
Yeah. Ross Cockrell's where I'm going with that. You want an obscure answer? That's what I got.
Yeah, that's good. All right, I think that's it. There was something else I thought I was going to say. Oh, I was looking at, just out of curiosity, the number of podcasts we've done. It obviously wasn't all that long ago that we knew it was episode 500, but this was episode 500 and Rod Woodson. 526 already.
There you go.
Of this. All right, so be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything we talked about today, question for a future episode, all that good stuff, and then leave us a 5-star review or subscribe wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. You can find us there by searching Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.